Hey guys, this is Fernando, and I'm here to show you guys dividing radicals. Although I'm putting it in quotations because it's more really what we're doing is simplifying, and we're simplifying using a new technique called radicalizing the denominator. So what we have here, we have problems right here, problems that kind of look like this, where we have a 6 being divided by root 3. We have problems that look like this, where we have 4 being divided by 3 times root 6. And then finally, I'll do an example, and I'll do some homework problems too, of like one where like we have everything under one radical. And we'll show how doing those ones. The first two, I would say, are a little bit easier ones. This one has a lot of steps to it, but I still will show it. Maybe I'll do that at the end if you're wanting to see one of those. Just again, skip around, see where you need to be. First 2 minutes is gonna be just kind of really showing the skill. So what is our mission? Our job on all of these problems is the fact that in division problems and fractions, we do not want to have a radical on the bottom, on our denominator. So we need to remove that radical. Why do we want to do that? Well, a few reasons. One, it makes it easier to understand the number, right? When we have like a whole number on the bottom for our denominator, it's easier to understand. Another reason is like maybe if you want to add or subtract fractions, right? It's easier to do so when you have a denominator that's a whole number that you can then manipulate. That way you can add those together. So when we get to adding and subtracting radicals, this will come into play. So what is our steps to doing this? Well, again, my job is, let's get rid of this. I want to get rid of that root 3. And so the way we do this is by doing this step. Your job, or what you want to do, is to multiply both your denominator and your numerator by the radical that is on your denominator. Why do we do this? Well, watch what happens. When you do this, I'm going to just go ahead and highlight these two together right here. When you do this, look what happens. We end up having 3 times 3 would have me root 9 on the bottom. 6 times root 3, or 6 times root 3. Can't multiply those, so this is what we have, right? Well, what's the square root of 9? It ends up being 6 root 3. Square root of 9 is 3. And that's convenient, right? Notice how the radical's gone. And you'll find that it happens every single time. By multiplying by the same radical, what ends up happening is it removes the radical. It removes that little house. So square root of 3 times square root of 3 will always just be 3. And so we do this by multiplying both the top and bottom, basically by times 1, to do it. So our final answer here, right? We have 6 times square root of 3 divided by 3. We still want to make sure we're simplifying, right? And so this would be whole numbers that we can still divide. So 6 divided by 3, it's going to end up being 2 root 3 as our final answer. Just as a reminder, right? Like you can still always simplify our whole numbers, right? 6 divided by 3, 2. So let's do it again. On this one, right, I have now more than just a radical on the bottom, right? And you can do multiplying it by doing this. So you can do 2 things. You can either multiply both the top and bottom. You can multiply both the top and bottom by the whole denominator. Or, again, because we only really want to get rid of the radical, the more important thing is that we get rid of that radical. Is by multiplying by the radical. Get rid of it by multiplying by the radical. So let's see what we get. We now have 4 times root 6 on the top, and we have 4 root 6. For my denominator, I am multiplying these 2 things together, right? So watch what happens. I'm going to end up getting root 36, because 6 times 6 is root 36. On the bottom, end up being 6, because the square root of 36 is 6. So I get that right there. This 3 has been sitting there the whole time, so you kind of have to also bring it along. So on the denominator, I have 3 times 6. The 3 came from right here. My 6 came from the fact that square root of 6 times the square root of 6 gives me 6. And then my numerator, again, you're just multiplying atop. So what we have 4 root 6 and 18. Again, make sure we can always simplify. That is a whole numbers that we can simplify. Divide both of them by 2, and you can get 2 ninths, and you have root 6 still on the top. There you go. So I'm gonna do a few homework problems, and then I'm gonna show you guys maybe that last one. So, moving on to the homework, right? Let's see how this works a few times. I'll do the first 3. So on this one, right? My job, let's get rid of that radical. So I'm gonna multiply both the top and the bottom by square root 2. On the top, I'm gonna have 2 root 2. On the bottom, I'm gonna have just the number 2 because again, it basically just removes the radical. From here, I can still simplify. And so my final answer, these cancel out or become 1s. And so my final answer is just root 2, or 1 times root 2 over 1. Next one, let's see, multiply by, oopsies, radical of 3, or square root of 3. So again, by doing this, it removes the radical on the bottom or the denominator. So I'm gonna end up having 4 root 3 times, 4 times root 3, square root 3, and then on the bottom I have just the number 3, because again, radical goes away. So let's get to one where hopefully I actually do have to simplify. So this one, I'm gonna just erase my answer over here just because I need some more room. Watch what happens here. This one's gonna be a little bit of a large one. So I'm gonna end up still doing the same thing. Square root 48, square root 48, right? What that does, removes the house, and I'm now gonna have a 48 on the bottom. 5 times 48 is gonna end up giving me square root of 240. So this is correct technically. It's not the most simple that we can be, right? We can still simplify this. The top or the numerator can still be simplified. So we're gonna go ahead and do that, right? So square root of 240, let's factor that. We can do it just really basic. We can do 120 and 2, 60 and 2. We have 30 and 2, and then we have 15, which cannot be split up anymore, and 2. Like you can do 3 times 5, but it's not gonna go anywhere. So we have a group of 2s. So if I'm gonna write my answer right, I have a 2 on the outside, group of 2s, 2 on the outside, and then again a 15 because I can't split it anymore. 3 times 5 is as far as it goes. So I have 2 times 2 times square root of 15 on the top, because again, this is just the same as 240. All we did is simplify it. And 48 is still our denominator. 4 times square root 15 over 48. Still gotta simplify my whole numbers, and that is gonna end up being square root 15 over 12. And that's your final answer. So make sure you're simplifying at each step the best you can. I'm gonna go ahead and do, I think maybe I'll save the next one for tomorrow's video, just showing some like further ones. But that's the premise. Multiply by the multiply or rationalize the denominator, radicalize the denominator. There you go.